Welcome. Thank you for being. We're going to talk about a lot of different topics, a lot of different ways to get better body, mind, and soul through a plethora of modalities. I've been meditating for 26 and a half years. I started around age 5. Parents got separated. Mom moved out to this little basement apartment. I was something. It's a special move. Parents still on good terms, but they had different paths that they needed to follow. And I still remember they had asked us, Mommy and Daddy, think about living separately and how do you feel about it? And I remember my answers, whatever makes you happy, whatever age 5 me could rationalize as the good answer, the good kid, the older brother. I had to set an example. I didn't want my little brother going into a fit. So the move was, I don't remember much of it, but I remember us being anxious and having a hard time falling asleep. So mom would put some bubbles or waves, and then we'd just lie there and breathe to the sound of the waves and slowly ease into a relaxed state that would allow us to finally fall asleep. And it's around that age that I started reading books, mainly as a way to escape life. And I was fascinated by stories and by people living these fantastic lives. A hero's journey, as I would come to learn. It's called the essence of all great stories. The hero gets hit with a catalyst, with an event that changes their life forever. And they go on this journey, on this quest to find this thing, to do this, accomplish this feat. And they have setbacks, and at some point they have this major breakthrough moment that allows them to evolve past their setback. And it was a revelation for me, and I just kept eating books. I remember my grandma used to bring me, we'd go across from Montreal, Canada. We'd go from that one end of the metro subway system to the other end, and she'd just read to me all along, and I just follow along and try to follow with the words. Eventually, I started reading for myself and got hooked. Mom was always super supportive of my reading. She'd budget me on the book orders and say, "Oh, you can choose 1 or 2 books, and then I have to do good in school to be able to get the books," which I always did. I was kind of that, I don't say like a child prodigy, but school was really easy for me. If I was reading books by 6, 7, I was into novels. 8, 9, I was into 500, 600 page books, big novels and big stories and complex theories. And it always fascinated me. And I remember it wasn't too easy being a bookworm. Got beat up a lot, and I remember my mom would send me to school, and she'd be like, "Attitude of gratitude, Ali." And I remember I used to think to myself, "The fuck am I grateful for? I'm going to school to get beat up. I'm going to get school to get mocked." And I wasn't doing too well. And then one of my best friends at the time, Roxanne, she said, "Oh, you should try taekwondo." She's like, "It's martial arts." And I was into these little Jackie Chan movies and kung fu and all that. And I was like, "Oh wow, let me do that." And so I did. And then that gave me a little confidence boost. And around the time that I started Taekwondo, get that confidence boost, the lead bully, if you will, because all the guys were into it. All the guys were like, "Let's pick on this weird kid, this different kid, me." And I remember this one time, all the boys in my class, all the boys in my grade, actually, they were all kicking me in a circle, and nobody was doing anything. And it was just like a big traumatic event. And I've since come to, understand the power of forgiveness and forgive them. And obviously, when that bully left, they all came to apologize to me at the beginning of the next school year. And I was grade 5, and I was by that time I was fully immersed in books, and I wouldn't talk much. I would read most throughout the school day. I would read at home. I would read, create these fantasy worlds with plush toys and dolls and all that. And I was just immersed in creating this alternate reality for myself, trying to get away from this life that was knocking me down. And until one day, I had a presentation. I had to do an oral presentation. I had to tell a story to the class, and I chose the Three Little Pigs, and I made it my own, and I added in extra characters. And by the time I had learned that for oral presentations, pace was important, and volume, and movement, and I was researching how to make the best presentation possible, which I did. Got a super good grade. I was the best in the class, and then I was sent in front of the school, and then I was one of the best of the school, and then I was sent to the school board, and everybody loved my story. And the year after that, I took a story from the school board event, and I said it again, won the competition at school, and back to the school board. And well, the school board competition didn't really have winners because, as you can see by my age, I'm around going on 32 this year, right in the middle of generation. Everybody's a winner, participation medals. So that's what we got. But I remember telling my story to a ski trip we went on with other schools from the school board. People eating up my story. It was a story about a crocodile and a monkey, and a crocodile snapping in the monkey, and all the kids would just, and they just ate through it. And that allowed me to realize the power of words, which I began to immediately abuse and misuse for many years, probably a good decade, until life beat into me that I shouldn't use them. But it was around that time, grade 4 or 5, I'd done a project on how 9/11 was a controlled demolition, and I had pictures, and that was my oral presentation, I think, in grade 4. And I don't remember for which class. It was a special event, and a few years after that, grade 5 or 6, it was a Catholic class, and I still had that. And I kept disputing and refuting. And they're like, "Oh, we're going to teach you about Jesus and all that." And I was like, "Oh, this seems like another book to read." And I started reading to me, and started reading in Old Testament, Genesis, and some stuff was just horrible. I was like, "What?" And then I reached New Testament, and then I was hearing all these things that Jesus did. I was like, how am I supposed to believe all this? Where's the proof? Where's the science? Because I was a man of science. I wanted to be a marine biologist at that age. That was my thing. Save the animals. I was fascinated by water and grew up by the water and grew up on an island. And so it was really something for me. And this fascination with science got me kicked out of this Catholic class and moved towards a moral education and ethics. And I then started learning about Buddhism, and I was like, "Oh, this works for me. Like a way of life, not a religion." Mm. So it's kind of a atheist slash Buddhist for the next decade. And when I left elementary school, I told myself that learned about the law of attraction since I was really young, manifestation, the secret, attitude of gratitude, visualizing. And so I set a clear image. It's like when I go to high school, I'm done being that nerd bookworm that all the guys made fun of. I wanted to change that. So I set a goal for myself to be like Zac Efron, Troy Bolton in High School Musical. Cool kid. He changed school. He became cool. He's in the basketball team. He was in the choir, and lo and behold, I became. I was in the symphonic winds at Rosemont High School. I was in music. I was in choir. I was in student council by Sec 5. And I was involved in a bunch of committees from logistics. It was really like a dream come true, down to the name of my girlfriend in the movie. Gabriela Montez. My girlfriend was Gabriela at that time. So it was really a powerful testament to, wow, this stuff works. It really works. There's something to it. So I moved from there. I was like, wow, I can really do this. I can really create my own reality. I have this power. And so I did, and I started creating a reality for myself. Graduating Sec 5, I had two choices. I wanted to either be a mechanic to learn about cars, and I was like, oh, if there's an apocalypse, I need to be able to repair my car. And then I also had this idea. I was like, well, I also need to learn how to heal my body. And then I started looking at salaries, and I was like, well, doctors make more than mechanics. Let's go for a doctor. And I was like, well, plastic surgeons make a lot more, so I could specialize in that. So I moved towards college, and I started studying the sciences. And high school had been a breeze. I was still that kid that was reading to classes, though after secondary one, first, uh, I wasn't allowed to read in class. They're like, you're distracting other students. They're all trying to read something else or do something else like you, but they can't follow like you. Because I would give the answers, obviously I'd be reading, but my ears would be listening, and I could follow and answer. And so, yeah, I had to stop reading during class, and I was reading in the bus on the way home, reading at home, going to the library now, being a teenager. I had my library card, max out my rentals, and I plowed through the books, and I kept on going for many years. And I learned that through smoking, it could be cool, so I started smoking, and then that turned into a pretty intense habit. Nicotine, cannabis. I started drinking early on, and by the end of high school, I was fully leaned into addiction, to drinking, to smoking, and I began to live that party life, that college life, really living for it. And slowly but surely, I realized that in college, you can't just show up and do the stuff. You just actually do homework, and there's assignments, a lot of stuff, and it wasn't working out. Not with my party life, my social life, and my job. I was working at the same time, and I also had realized that like school wasn't exactly the model that I was aspiring to adhere to, and it was what I considered a form of indoctrination, and it wasn't working for me. So I decided to leave and to work. By that time, a few semesters had gone by. I decided that I was only studying sciences and on the path to being a doctor because I was in it for the money. That's the true reasons. It's like, well, let me study business. And then I realized the people teaching me business weren't businessmen. So let me study businesses that have successful models. And I tried to go back after a while, but it really wasn't for me. Uh, the studying business models, though, really was. So I kept studying on my own, teaching myself how to interact with people, sales, relationships, this whole idea that you're able to influence people through your actions, through your state, through your postures, really was hitting home for me. And then I was studying these businesses, looking at what practices made them successful, what marketing tactics they used, how we were supposed to act, what we were supposed to say. And I'm just picking up these things along the way. And around 2014, I lost a lot of people in my life, grandparents, friends, cancer, suicide, murder, uh, bus crash, accidents. Really made me question that whole paradigm of seeing it to believing it, the scientific method, and what validity, what use did science have at that point if they just up and vanished and their bodies just withered away and rotted in the ground, and there was no purpose to life, and there was no afterlife, and I couldn't keep on living. There's no point to it. So there's a shift that happened at that point. I decided to have faith and to understand what faith really meant. For me, anyways, faith is believing is seeing, not the other way around. And so through belief, you can see, you can. And that created my reality. I was like, well, there's some science to that. I can get behind it. There's some validity to the power of the mind. And learn later on that there's a lot of science that proves the power of the mind. You can imagine yourself into a new reality and actually make it happen. And there's studies that show people that practice physically versus people that imagine practicing, visualize their practice. Well, they actually get better. They actually learn the stuff. NBA players learn the plays, pianists learn the pieces. Home run is professional bodybuilders increase their muscle mass. Their muscles grew from imagining working out. The mind is a powerful thing. It doesn't distinguish between what your two retinas cap, what the information you see here, and what your third eye, which your imagination can create in your mind. There's no real difference. It's both real to your mind. So I gave in. And slowly I started diving into these new ways to heal and looking at metaphysics and meditation, yoga, food as a source to heal. Because by that time, 2014, major depressions, winter was horrible for me, lack of sunlight, lack of nature, lack of water. It was really rough. And I was near suicidal a few times. At that time, I moved from reading books to watching stuff. It was just faster way to learn, faster way to hear stories. And then I started streaming before Netflix came out. And forget it, when Netflix came out, I was hooked. I was like on like stories on steroids. I was just consuming until there was nothing new left, and I just kept moving through it. And then I heard about this network that was like they said Gaia for spirituality or something like that. By that time, I had already converted to Islam as well, became a Muslim. I was not super practicing. I wasn't practicing Catholic or practicing Buddhist. I don't really believe in the whole idea that some messenger of God is telling you how to live your life. I think that the answers lie within. I think the truth lies within. But I was very curious about Ramadan and fasting. I was starting to learn about these alternate healing modalities, and fasting was one of them. I've been intermittent fasting for about 12 years now. Ramadan was the first time I experimented with fasting. The first week was rough, but by a week and a half, and it was like year, it was like June or July or so. These were really long days. And for those of you that don't know, during Ramadan, you cannot eat or drink during sunrise through sunset. Smoke nothing can touch your, it can enter your mouth is the general idea. And abstaining from all forms of sin, for smoking and sex and kissing and all that. So it really got my mind shifting. And I was just curious about the whole food and water thing. But by week 1.5, my friend who had offered me the gate into Islam and had made me recite the prayer to become Muslim, he had told me, when you fast, when you do Ramadan, make sure to keep doing what you're already doing. Of course, be mindful of your body and of the experience. But he said the best way is to act natural and to do stuff that makes you feel good. And that will help you go through the day. And you'll see at some point you'll be able to do it. So I was jogging at that time, and I kept jogging. And after a week and a half, I was jogging faster, longer, with less exertion. It was a beautiful realization. I was superhuman. Some major shift happened in my body, in my brain. And since then, I've been fasting intermittently, and I've done Ramadan maybe half a dozen times, not every year. I'll be doing it this year for myself, and thanks to the fact that I have some Muslim brothers that work with me. And so I have some support. It was difficult. There's sometimes that my family would just try to force food on me and wouldn't understand what I was going through and why I was doing this. It's always the black sheep of the family, but that was next level. Why can't you eat with us? So fasting is one of the things that I love to talk about. I feel like I know quite a lot about it. Really changed my life. And then I started experimenting with longer fasts, 1 day, 2 day, 3 day fasts. Haven't been up to 4 or 5 days, but that'll be coming soon. Maybe not Ramadan, but we'll see how this year plays out. This first video is part of the transformational series that I'll be sharing with y'all. As the purpose of this video is to give you a background of where I'm from. And so back to this depression era where I switched from Netflix to Gaia. Netflix of spirituality, as they called it, Netflix of wellness. I was curious, and it was good. I learned a lot. I spent thousands and thousands of hours going through all of their content about food, about yoga, about meditation, about spirituality, about metaphysics, about extra dimensional beings, about channelings, about occult affairs, about hidden teachings, about a bunch of different stuff. And I learned a lot, but it wasn't helping my depression, my isolation. I was just in my living room. I didn't want to talk to anybody. Um, and during those years, I was also trying to start up my own business in finances, working part time, studying different businesses. I'm blessed to have a great uncle who's a really successful man, and he taught me a lot. And his business model is about financial education and also leadership training. So I was able to get valuable insights for around almost a decade. I was working with them, learning and learning and taking all the information I could to become the best version of myself I could be. At the same time, working part time at other jobs. And then in the midst of these really dark moments and these harsh winters that we have up north, a little light. And I came across this man called Wim Hof, setting world records and looking like he was so alive. So I just felt the fire in his soul, teaching about cold therapy, about movement, about breath. I started trying his breath. I started trying cold therapy, cold showers, and then eventually, like 2016 came around. Pokemon Go came out, and that was a turning point, a grace of God. I had been waiting for that game. I love Pokemon since I was a kid, and Pokemon Go is a game that you actually have to walk around to earn points and to evolve throughout the game. So I started out with the basic kit, but then after a few plays, you run out and you need to walk and you need to hit these specific points in space. You have to physically go to these points to get the items that you need to go through the game and catch Pokemon and all that. And about 30 seconds from walking outside, I met a guy playing the game. And we started talking, and one thing led to another, and I started building this community around Pokemon in my neighborhood and connecting people in messenger chats and group chats, and it became like a pillar of our neighborhood, and a lot of people played, and we're like dozens of people gathering and playing together. It's a beautiful experience, and it helped me to get back into that tribe, into that idea of connecting with people, because at that point I had watched so much video, I had been in silence for so long, talking only minimally when required. I couldn't make full sentences. I didn't want to. I was just having a really hard time. And at the same time, all that happening, all that negativity, I was also getting beat up left and right. This one time was at a party, just throwing a freestyle, 4 or 5 minutes into the freestyle, running out of content. I started dissing a guy who hadn't given me weed, and then caused a whole chain reaction, punches, a cigarette burned into my forehead, a foot stomped into my chest, kicking me through a screen door. I got double uppercutted at another time at a bar, just for asking a guy to play pool with body language. Didn't work out. And then at some point, crazy thing happened. I was driving this guy, and we're trying to find a wife beater and for him to beat him up. But I had left my phone. I thought his phone had data. It didn't. And as his driver, I was supposed to get him to where I was going, and he decided to teach me respect and to teach me to do my job through violence. And so he whipped out one of those those police sticks, and busted my window. I started shouting at him, busted his phone. We got really angry, and for like half an hour, a bunch of different things transpired, but he beat me half an inch away from death. And then at some point, I managed to, I surrendered. I was like, well, I guess this is how I die. After trying all the different things to either get away or thinking about killing him or hide the body, it was crazy. And I was like, oh well, this is how I die. I've lived a good life. And then I thought, oh, I should just get the phone. And so I told him, and then he started beating me harder to go faster to get to the phone. And by the time we got to the phone, well, obviously there's a dozen people in the house where the phone was at. They saw the police stick, blood dripping down, my face full of blood. I was just knocked out. I ran. I walked towards the sink quite calmly. I was like, I ran. No, I was walking pretty calm. Put my head under cold water and just kept running it. They kicked him out, took the extendo, called the ambulance. Obviously, the cop showed up too. I don't want to press charges. And it's like, I don't want to have that karma. I don't want to create trouble for him and for everyone else involved. And so just the ambulance ended up coming, family. It was crazy. A friend coming, had a brother come in, and he was just so mad, and he wanted to call up some people, find him, kidnap him, torture him. Said I could do whatever I wanted to him and get the kill, hide the body. Nobody would know, but I would know. And somewhere in my mind, y'all had seen this meme. What would Jesus do? What would Jesus do? And I did have that thought. It just went through my mind, and there was an answer in my body, my bone marrow shaking, yelling through my body. This echo, loud and clear, shouting, "Forgive, forgive." And so I said, "I forgive him." And everybody around was like, "What the fuck? What do you mean you forgive him?" And I was like, "No, I forgive him. I forgive him." And then, "Oh, you got a concussion. You don't know what you're saying." And I was like, "No, I need to forgive him." And it took a while after that, months until I could get my fade done. And still to this day, my fade's a little lower. People think it looks like a more mature look, but it's also a way for not to scratch the scars and not to show these spots around my head that got scars on. So it's been a process, but the more I started telling this story about how I forgave this guy, the more I started inspiring people to forgive. And and I learned the lesson that I mentioned before. He was trying to teach me to do my job well, respect. And when it clicked, I got flooded with gratitude. Weird way, right? This guy tortures me. I forgive him. I learned this lesson, and now I'm grateful for this experience. And that's where I tapped into true gratitude. It's where I start opening my heart out to like, compassion and love. And Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, forgive them for they don't not what they do, or something like that. So that was a big turning point, and practicing cold showers along the way. Eventually, we hit the pandemic in 2020. By that time, I decided to leave sales and leave finances to explore cryptocurrency. Got nice money in there, and I evolved into the restaurant business. I discovered that uh, food was a great way for me to exploit my talents as a people person, and it was soft sales. People were coming to buy. I didn't have to force anybody to buy anything. That's kind of who I am. I don't want to torture you to buy anything. So that's just what moved me to the restaurant business. I was just creating this experience, building this brand around myself, around people. And I made people want to come back, and I was very successful with it. Still am to this day. And so everywhere I go, I kind of spread these seeds of knowledge, and over time, I began to have this yearning to spread further and more knowledge, spread my reach. And so I started posting online, and people started giving me good feedback, and it just kind of grew from there. And I'm at the point where now I want to really share my story and help people grow from it. So restaurant business, I realized that even then my conscience wasn't clear. I wasn't forcing people to buy stuff, but by my being, I was creating an association with me and the food. And if the food wasn't right, I couldn't sell it. And my previous restaurant wanted to be like the McDonald's of their own branch of food. And that vision just wasn't aligning with my own vision of becoming healthier. At some point, I had my best friend back then. She told me, she's like, "Dude, you need an animal. You need something to care for, you know." And I couldn't have animals. what's the next best thing that I could have that's not an animal, not an insect or whatever. But it got me into plants, and then I started looking up plants, and then suddenly I was like, oh, maybe I could have a garden, and then a bigger garden, and then at some point the itch started building. I want a big garden. I want a farm. I want to live in the countryside, and I was listening to country music. Eventually, I met a girl, and she was like, well, you should definitely come check out where I'm moving to. And then she moved there, and she was like, oh, you gotta come check this place out where I'm at right now, up in the eastern townships on this mountaintop, south side facing, great for cultivating stuff. Everything grows beautifully. Call it the Garden of Eden. Beautiful place. And getting there, my roommates, my landlord's like, we need to pay rent here, and like no money in what we're farming. It's just for us to eat better. And so I was like, well, there's a spa beside next door, and this spa, the restaurant is looking for waiters. I'm like, okay, I don't want to be a waiter anymore. I don't want to be in the restaurant game anymore. Like, this place is different. The food is part of the healing modalities of space. It's a holistic approach. And I was like, holistic approach, food as medicine. I'm in. I've been there for 2 years and a half. And just a flashback to cold therapy during the pandemic at my McDonald's wannabe restaurant. Uh, Became a takeout counter, working great, building brand, but got my takeout delivery business from 60% to 60% of total sales. It was a beautiful branding moment, beautiful evolution, created a lot of customers during that time. But my mental health was declining because I couldn't share, I couldn't connect, human connection. I was craving it. And I put a video of the guy I mentioned before, Wim Hof, some new record, some new study. And a friend of mine from CEGEP reached out, and she's like, oh, you want, we have a hole in the water, in the ice in Laval. And I hadn't dug no hole in the ice. I'm like not a manual laborer. Like gardening is like the most manual thing I'll do. I'll repair here and there little things, but actual garden, actual manual labor, and opening a hole in the ice, I didn't want to die. I didn't want to injure nobody. But then here's this guy who's like annual guy, roofer, and he's been digging his hole day in day out. And I was like, okay, let me try it out. So I did. I went. It's Wednesday, 11 a.m. She was already in there, hands like this out at the water with little gloves and a little hat. Just so serene and peaceful. And I was like, I want to be like that when I grow up, you know. So I got in the water, put my head in, took my head out, and was gasping for air, freezing. And then the guy who dug the hole, he was already out and changed, and his friend was there too. And they just kind of got beside me and started breathing really loud, and they're like, follow our breath, breathe with us, breathe with us. And slowly my breath that was like hyperventilating started to find their pace, find their calm, and I found this peace that's kept me going. And I took a little class. I started guiding people, helping them with their breath, and building this new community as this community builder. It's like a thing I do now. You know, I was just using all the social tools I'd acquired over the years, and we built this huge community. It's a beautiful process. And then when I moved to the spa, it was like a big adjustment. I went from like Asian restaurants to like French cuisine, like fine dining, so many utensils. I was used to like one kid and two chopsticks. Out here we had like 6 or 7 different utensils. So it was a big adjustment. I was used to shouting in Japanese all day, and here I am in this spa where it's all like calm and composed and soothing and relaxed. So I start using the facilities which they strongly encourage us to use. So word kind of around. I was always in the pond, and it was like I started in September, and the first few months were rough. September, October, November. So like months of me like steady day in day out into the pond, and it was like November. Like people are like, who is this kid? I say, it's Alex, the waiter. He loves the cold. And word got around to the founder owner, and she came to me and she's like, you really love the cold, don't you? I was like, yeah, changed my life, which it did. I've been teaching ever since other people how to, acclimate with the cold and make peace with this element. And she's like, well, I want you to teach here. And I did. I started teaching there. And that set off a whole chain of events. I've been teaching for a little over 2 years there, and 2 year, almost 2 years and a half, waiting the tables. And so, beautiful process that I've evolved into. And over time, I've helped. I don't know. I must be in the thousands now of people that I've helped through cold, giving them the same tools, the same tricks. Breathe, relax your body, relax your mind. It's all you need to know, really, to make a successful cold plunge, to be able to sit with the discomfort of the cold and find peace in the water. And so, just became something that I am now. I'm the cold guy. And so I launched a nonprofit with some associates of mine, a kinesiologist and a couple that are associated with the spa through their son and through the husband, and around breath work, around cold therapy, mental health, and how to teach people to manage their anxiety and their stress and lead healthier lives using these tools. And so, I've been specializing in how food can heal, how breath can heal, how cold can heal, how mindset can heal, and shifting from that negative manipulation to planting seeds of love, seeds of change, seeds of evolution in people's minds, and helping them choose the way out, choose new paths, inspiring change through action. And that's who I've become. And that's what I'm doing now. And that's what I want to keep on doing. And I want to spread this message, and I want to help more people, hence the purpose of this video. And as you'll learn, as you keep seeing these videos, I'll be giving a lot of different tools, diving into these topics, and how these topics can help. And that's really what I'm going for. Um, Being able to serve people. That's one of the things that changed my life. One of my mottos is do good without getting caught. And so it's been my process of how can I do things, how can I help people without being seen, being the unseen hero. No songs will be shouted, will be sung, and yet the hero is still the hero. He doesn't need the recognition, he doesn't need the applaud. And that's been a great balancing of who I am, from over humble, people pleasing, to overconfident, arrogant, finding the middle path, as Buddha calls it. And recently came out of Vipassana meditation, and I had the missing link. I was so good at staying in the present moment. I was so good at staying calm, but I was chasing pleasure, running away from discomfort. And there I learned to sit with the pain, just like I sit with the pain in the cold. I've been meditating daily for at least an hour every day. And that really shifted my mindset. That really changed how I operate. And so, here I am now sharing these tools with people, and that's what this video is for. I want to share in depth to help people. I want to share more ways. Learned also the 12 steps from the AANA recovery program, this protocol. One of them being of service. And on my path to becoming a doctor, I had done a lot of volunteering, which is required. You need to be a good person. And so I was doing those out of uh, motivation to get that goal. But it still kind of, it felt really good to be like, I would serve soups in homeless shelters and stuff like that, volunteer in hospitals. There's a beautiful thing about it. Like, though it came out of a selfish motivation, I still felt really good doing it. And so it's been a game changer. And I try to be of service as much as I can. And that's what I aim to do with these videos and the upcoming videos, being of service, and giving people tools and concrete, actionable steps of what they can do. And of course, offering the option to dive deep. Going to be hosting workshops, hosting retreats, doing one-on-one consultations, be guiding people. Of course, it'll be a nonprofit. It'll be we stay free. We'll be teaching people the tools with breath, with cold, and with movement, how they can explore ways to get better. But um, I want to also do like workshops where I can actually impact a broader scale. And at the same time, I've learned that opening myself up to receive gratitude comes in many forms. And some of those forms is monetary gratitude. People pay you for a service that you render, for a product that you deliver. And businesses aim to solve a problem. All businesses aim to serve a customer, a need. And the need that I'm aiming to serve, to solve, is that need for healing on a mental, on a spiritual, on a physical level. I want to help people heal, help people transform, help people evolve, help people increase their quality of life. And that's my goal. As noble, as humble as it is, I want to be able to help people and get paid to do it. Of course, there's going to be a lot of free tools, like I previously mentioned. I'll be doing these YouTube videos. I'll be clipping those into shorts and reels, and different ways of people to work with me, paid ways if they want to dive deeper. I want to make it accessible to as much people as possible. Um, yeah, that's kind of where I'm heading to, this new path, with this new year, 2026. Been building momentum, but I wanted to wait after Vipassana. I wanted to wait after the new year. I wanted to wait for the real new year, and this is the last moon of 2026, of 2025, of the lunar calendar, of the Chinese zodiacs. We're about to head into the new year, and so that's why I'm sharing this video now, because it's been building inside me. It's been building. I've been at this point of no return, this critical mass, this inner explosion, and life has just been um, pushing me towards that. And I've started making organites, these energetic filters, helping people improve their quality of life, reducing like electromagnetic waves, helping heal through food. Started making dried herbs, sending those, sharing those, selling those. So much stuff has been going on in 2025, and I just need to kind of narrow it down to my true mission, my true focus, my true goals, and here it is. That's who I am. That's what I'm here to do, and I'd love if you join me on this journey, and let me know what you want to learn more about, what you want to hear about, uh, and what you're willing to embark on, and how we can work together to make your ideal life come true, make your goals come true, make your existence optimize. The way my brain works, I receive information, I'm able to give out input on a strategic manner. I'm able to find strengths in people. I'm able to, like I said, plant that seed. I'm able to be that spark to flare your soul, to inspire change. I can't do the whole work, but I can plant that seed. It's up to you to water it, to put it in the right sun, and put it in the right soil. But with the proper tools, you'll be able to make it flourish, to make you flourish. And that's my goal. That's my mission, is to help you